Hey, I'd like to bring this meeting to order. The Village of Villa Park Board of Trustees meeting, March 14th, 2022. Clerk Konecki, please call the roll.
Trustee Silella.
Here.
Trustee Corkery.
Here.
Trustee Kozar.
Here.
Trustee Kumar.
Here.
Trustee Murphy. Here. Trustee Patrick.
Here.
President Kazone.
Here. And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then please standing afterwards. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us to make the decisions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen. Okay, item 3A on our agenda is one of the things that we always like doing here. We have a life-saving award. And Chief Rivas, would you like to take over?
Thank you, Mr. President. But before we get started, if we can have Officer Campos, Mr. Gonzalez, and Mr. Medina, if you want to step forward and just stand by me. And Mr. President, before we get started, we'll do a couple quick introductions. Officer Dennis Campos, and the gentleman in black is Alberto Medina, our Good Samaritan. And then we have our Villa Park resident, Michael Gonzalez. We also want to recognize the Villa Park Fire Department for all their assistance on this. And the 5 people that were there was Lieutenant Jamie Bickley, Lieutenant Frank Reposh, firefighter and paramedic Ron Brzezowski, firefighter and paramedic Dave Richardson, and firefighter and paramedic Denise Easton. And this is a great example of a collaborative effort between citizens and public safety. And sir, I'd like to draw your attention to June 27th, 2021, where Mr. Medina observes Mr. Gonzalez face on the parking lot in the 1600 block of South Michigan. Mr. Medina calls 911, where Officer Campos is the first to respond. Officer Campos notices Mr. Gonzalez is unresponsive and not breathing. Officer Campos begins chest compressions and tells DUCOM, our radio group, that he has a full cardiac arrest. Officer Campos then requests Mr. Medina to do chest compressions while he prepares the AED for use. The pads are placed and the AED advised to shock. The AED delivered the shock, and then it advised to continue life-saving efforts. That is when the Villa Park Fire Department arrived and they took over for the life-saving efforts. Officer Campos then secured all of Mr. Gonzalez's personal belongings, his workout gear and things like that, and the fire department advised Officer Campos that Mr. Gonzalez was then alert and speaking with them. Officer Campos then drove to the Elmhurst Hospital, where then he offered to contact Mr. Gonzalez's wife and to talk about what had happened. And without further ado, I'll present these plaques as a small token of our appreciation. First and foremost, Mr. Medina. Sir, in appreciation of your heroic efforts in life-saving the life of a Villa Park resident. Thank you, sir. And now, Officer Campos. This life-saving award, we'll give it 30 seconds. In appreciation of your heroic efforts in saving the life of a Villa Park resident, and this is awarded to Officer Dennis Campos, dated June 27, 2021. Also, we have a life-saving pin for Officer Campos. Officer Campos, your life-saving pin. And now if we can just indulge the board just to kind of get together, we're going to do a photo op right here. If we just ask the board to stand, we'll take the photo from there, and we'll stand front and center.
What's down there or just?
No, just if I could ask the board to I'll just stand there.
There you go. Okay.
We'll scrunch it.
Yeah, scrunch it.
Scrunch it. All right. Please hold.
Congratulations, gentlemen. You guys did a great job. Just kind of shows the spirit of Villa Park. Our first responders and our residents do a great job here. Thank you.
Thank goodness for cell phones, huh? God, what would we have done if we didn't have a cell phone? We'd be knocking on the door.
I guess I have the police card.
I know, but that was a resident. Well, the first guy that found him was a resident. He'd be knocking on the door.
Yeah.
It's gotta be scary. Did he have a...
Okay, we will move on to item 4, public comments on agenda items. Clerk Connecticut, we have them signed up.
Yes, I got Mary Brunner Heinz.
Hard act to follow.
Regarding 8B.
Yeah. My name is Mary Brunner Heinz. I live at 512 East Wildwood. And please excuse my reading, but I want to get this information correct that I'm giving you. I'm regarding 8B, which is turning Wildwood into a truck route. Whee! I'm going to be quoting from a transcript of a Planning and Zoning Commission, the public hearing January 14th, 2021. This meeting was regarding someone wanting to change zoning from residential to light industrial and have some land that annexed into Villa Park. And this was all on Manor Lane, which is near, off of Villa through to Ardmore. And it's right past the Schroeder trucking business. I understand that our situation is not identical, but I feel it's similar enough to justify the use of the quotes, as we did not have a public hearing for our ordinance. We have none of these quotes from ours. The concerns that the commissioners brought up in this meeting were the same concerns that the neighborhoods on Wildwood Avenue have brought up to your attention for the last 2 years. So these are the page numbers. I'll read the page numbers and who's speaking. Page number 41 of the transcript, Commissioner Romano was questioning the petitioner. You have neighbors. I mean, there's at least 2 neighbors to the west and 2 to the east, and then everyone across the street. And the trucks early in the morning, the up and down the road, the lack of care for the property they have to live with. Would you like that right next to you? Page 48, Chairman Jarrett. So we will move to the discussion by the commission members. This has been before us several times, and I don't like hearing the complaints from the neighbors. It doesn't fall on us as a board. Maybe it falls on us as a village. Page 49, Commissioner Jackson. Perhaps it falls on us as people or the neighbors that don't want that in their front yard or in their side yard. I can feel their pain, and I can feel the stress that is causing them, and there's a financial burden there too. I wouldn't want to buy a house there. Page 53, Commissioner Selinsky. I witnessed a bad car accident on Villa Avenue. A car was heading north on Villa Avenue, turned left on Manor, and struck a young gentleman who was skateboarding at that time. I can only imagine how much worse that would be if there were 6-wheelers or larger vehicles passing through Manor. It kind of just sticks in my mind. I would like to remind everyone that they want to put a bike path adjacent to our truck route. Yesterday we were outside in the nice weather, and there's someone walking a dog along the sidewalk
30 seconds.
across from my house, and there were 2 kids, 2 girls, 12 years old, rollerblading down the street. Page 57, I would sure like to have a few more minutes. Commissioner Orlowski. So I mean, personally, I can't do this, only because I'm going to create hardships to families. Not hardships to a business, hardships to families. Page 71, Commissioner Solinsky. It is up to us, it is up to the village staff to understand these complaints comprehensively and put together a plan. It should not be to the neighbors to do all the work for us. And this is the end game. The neighbors on Wildwood Avenue will continue to have their formerly quiet residential street subjected to the noise, air pollution, road deterioration, safety problems, and loss of property value caused by the increase in the truck traffic since the village moved AK mulch to the end of our street, whether it's deemed a truck route or not. I hope that, as Trustee Kozar suggested on March 5th, coffee with the trustees, that the Villa Park will at least work on replacing the dead trees and paint crosswalks on the street, because it would be nice to have someone advocating for us as planning and zoning did for Manor Lane. This is my final quote from Commissioner Romano from that meeting. Would you like something like this right next to where you live? Thank you very much.
Okay, Cheryl Tucker has a couple items, 9A and 10A and B.
Hello, Cheryl Tucker, 434 South Cornell. This board has a unique opportunity with the help of a past president to give the people of Villa Park the recreational center they have requested for years to be built at Lions Park. As a member of the Park and Rec Commission, I am asking the board to please support the Park and Recreational staff who have put in countless hours and effort by voting yes to 9A, 10A, and B. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
That's all.
That's all?
We're signed up.
Okay, do we have anyone else that would like to speak on agenda items? Okay, we'll go to item 5, amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments? Okay, seeing none, we will move to items 6A and 6B. Minutes from the February 28th, 2022 Village Board meeting, and bill listings for the weeks of March 2nd, 2022, March 7th, 2022, in the total amount of $724,818.99. We have a motion for the
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Murphy. Do we have a second? Trustee Corkery, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kredecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Salella,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. Item 7 is the first reading on an ordinance. Ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, increasing the number of Class EE liquor licenses to sell beer and wine only to patrons seated at tables for consumption on premises.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ronald, Donna, and Mark Brown, doing business as Captain B's Shrimp House II, Incorporated, located at 231 North Avenue, would like to sell beer and wine only to patrons seated at tables for consumption on the premises. The Browns have submitted all the necessary documentation and have been approved by the local Liquor Control Commission to acquire a liquor license. If approved, this ordinance would increase the total number of Class EE licenses to 10 and also increase the village total number to 71 licenses.
Thank you. Okay, as this is the first reading, it'll be discussion only unless someone would like to make a motion to waive the second reading.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Trustee Corkery, anyone like to second it?
I'll second it.
Trustee Kumar, okay. Clerk Kredecki, we vote on waiving the second.
Okay, I'll start with Trustee Kozar.
I will recuse myself. It's a liquor matter.
Thank you. Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Salella,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. Okay, so with that, we have any discussion on the ordinance?
I just want to know if it's a new business coming into town.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yes it is. Well, I'm very happy I just want to state I'm very happy they're coming into town.
Okay.
It looks like they have great reviews, and I'm very happy they're coming on North Avenue.
Yeah, good, thank you. Trustee Murphy.
Am I correct in saying that this license will not have gaming going along with it? Gaming's not an option with this type of license?
They can have gaming if they so desire. I don't think they're going to start.
Do we have the option of having an alternative liquor license type that gives them the ability to have the liquor without the gaming?
We do. It's a quadruple E, I believe. But again, they're looking for just a double E. I think as of now, they're not going to, but they may want the option. Director Burke, have you talked to them about that at all?
No, not regarding the
Yes. Okay. Trustee Kumar?
I did kind of check up on their business and stuff, and they do have gaming in their other places. So
They do? Okay.
it is quite possible that they may be requesting that in the future.
Okay. Okay. Actually, I think we need a motion now, right, before we discuss? So we make a motion on the ordinance? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll need a motion on this ordinance, since we already waived the second. Trustee Corkery? We have a second? Trustee Kumar? Okay, sorry. Any other discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki.
Okay, trustee Kozar,
Again, this is a liquor issue. I will recuse myself.
thank you. Trustee Silella,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. Okay, so that passes, and hopefully they will get open soon, and we could enjoy their food. Okay, moving to item 8A, an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, amending section 14-207, no parking zones of the Village of Villa Park Municipal Code. Mr. Ware.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village has received several complaints and concerns regarding parked vehicles on the 700 block of North Michigan Avenue between Ridge Road and Stone Road. Many of these vehicles are illegally parked overnight, unlicensed, damaged, and left abandoned. The business owners further advise that the trucks making local deliveries are having difficult time turning and entering into their business complex due to the number of parked vehicles on Michigan between Ridge and Stone. The Traffic Safety Committee has reviewed and discussed this location for several months to provide a recommendation to the board. On February 1st of 2022, the Traffic and Safety Committee recommended an ordinance be considered by the village board to restrict parking on Michigan Avenue on the east side of the roadway from Ridge Road to Stone Road.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion on the ordinance? Trustee Solella. We have a second? Trustee Corkery? Any discussions or questions? Trustee Corkery?
Traffic and Safety did approve this, right? They voted in favor of it?
Yes, that's correct. Trustee Kumar?
There was a lot of discussion at coffee with the board on this particular issue, so I'm a little bit concerned. Is there some other, especially some of the business where I seem to be concerned about temporary permission to park there, and it's kind of been let and not let. It seems like a very unwritten space. Is there some way to get around the unwritten situation?
Well, that's what the ordinance is. I think it was kind of an unwritten no parking, and then there were some temporary no parking signs there that were being moved.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. President. I was at the same meeting as well. I think more of the concerns were on Stone and freeing up that roadway for the pass of public safety vehicles. On North, the business Wood Statements is trying to get deliveries into their business, and they can't do it off of Michigan or off Stone with cars parked on 701 North Michigan. So we do have the permission of the business owner right there. I think what also help free up is that once construction is done at North School, you'll have cars that are able to park in the park of that North School instead of up and down Ridge. So that part will clean itself up. There's still issues we'll have in Iowa and still some issues on Stone, but this goes a long way in helping out that business.
Any other questions? Trustee Kozar?
Excuse me. I just want to thank Chief Rivas for all his work done on this. I brought some concerns on this months and months ago to him because one of the business owners there had called me and we met and talked about what the issue was. And from the get-go, Chief Rivas was all about solution-based and spent a lot of time and directed his staff, his officers, to go down there and try to find a solution. So I think this is the solution on the table, to give it a try and see if this will help. But just wanted to express that. So thank you, Chief.
Anyone else? Okay, Clerk Kornecki.
Okay, trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
President Casella?
Yes. Okay, go to item 8B, an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, amending Article 1 of Chapter 14, Motor Vehicles and Traffic of the Village of Villa Park Municipal Code. Manager Guerra.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Village of Villa Park's Traffic and Safety Commission received numerous concerns from residents in the vicinity of Wildwood Avenue and Monterey Avenue regarding the increased volume of truck traffic on the residential streets in that neighborhood. After reviewing the situation for several months, the Traffic and Safety Commission concluded that the best option would be to establish a designated local truck route to control which residential streets in the area can be used for truck deliveries and which may not. The Traffic and Safety Commission voted to recommend an ordinance amending Article 1 of Chapter 14, Motor Vehicles and Traffic of the Village of Villa Park's Municipal Code, and which, if adopted, will designate 4 village streets as local truck routes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Kumar?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee Corkery? Okay, any questions, comments? Trustee Patrick?
Thank you. So I was not on the board when the village acquired AK Mulch property, or the deal went down. I think it was only President Kazone and Trustee Ciela. So I guess my questions are more geared towards you two. So when this deal happened, what was the level of public involvement leading up to the purchase? Did the public have any say-so? Was there any kind of outreach to the public in the area that informed them that this might be happening?
I believe there was some public input. I don't know if there was, I don't think there was any actual meetings that were held for the public. Was there? I don't remember if we had those or not. But I know that there were some public comments at board meetings about it. But again, I don't think there was a full-blown public input meeting on that.
Just the point that I want to make is that I completely understand where the residents are coming from regarding this. And I think with big decisions like this, that we need to make sure that we are doing our due diligence by conducting traffic studies and whatnot, and making sure that we're reaching out to the residents in the areas before we make decisions like that. I think it's only fair. It gives everybody a heads up, and it lets everybody know what's going on. So I would just recommend that the village moving forward make that common practice.
Okay. Trustee Slow.
Back when we were in negotiations to acquire that property, there was plenty of conversation about where AK Mulch was going to move, the purchase price. Plenty of people spoke up, either at board meetings, via email, and some public comments. I recall it very vividly. So I do think we had some good input to direct us into making a decision on when we purchased and sold properties and the location in which that AK Mulch was placed. Whether some people feel they were excluded, I would apologize to them for possibly not being made aware of our future plans, but I do know we spent a lot of time. That was a 2-year process. It didn't happen overnight. So that being said, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. It's just that with the type of business that is in there, there are large trucks, especially when springtime comes, especially coming around the corner right now. It's going to be a very busy area. With knowing that the type of business that it is, with the traffic that it brings in, again, I looking in hindsight, I wish the village would have done a traffic safety, or a traffic study, or a little bit more research, because there's really nowhere for those trucks to go other than those 2 side roads and out. So.
Trustee Corkery.
Ms. Brunner-Hines made mention of adding crosswalks there. How quickly can we get that in front of traffic and safety to look at?
Well, I know the crosswalks on Villa were striped last year during our normal annual maintenance program. Additionally, I think she had made mention as well that we have what we're calling the Tri-Trail Connector project, and that's anticipated to get started in the spring of 2023, which then will also enhance the crosswalks with signage markings and those items. If we're looking at additional crosswalk markings down in the corner of Monterey and Wildwood, that's something that we could add to our maintenance program this year and get them striped.
I think that'd be good.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes, thank you. With relation to what's currently on the agenda item, I'm as concerned as everyone else at this point. What I would like to see is this be done on a temporary basis. From what I'm understanding, Monterey is not really in good shape to be having these heavy trucks going up and down it at the moment. I'm not adverse to the proposed truck route as it's defined right now, but I would prefer that that be made temporary, primarily because for a variety of reasons. Number one, we're proposing a lot of new development on Villa Avenue. I don't know what the outcome of that will be, with that being a permanently defined truck route. And I would like to see this be made temporary with a date to follow of a proposed date, two years or whatever we're anticipating the date to be once these two new developments are up. And in the meantime, I would like to see Public Works reinforcing Monterey and Oakland, because I wouldn't be surprised that we're not going to need all of those 3 roads 2 years from now. So I hate to see this made a permanent truck route and then find out 2 years when we have these new developments in that we're not revisiting the situation and haven't done any work on either Monterey or Oakland. To do that, we would have to revise the text. So having spoken with the attorney tonight, I guess we have 2 options. We can either not pass it, as we always have the option to do. We can pass it, and then will we go back and revisit it? Or we can just revise the text, not pass it the way that it is written, put temporary in there with a sundowning date, and then when it sundowns on whatever date we put on it, we would be revisiting the whole issue. And again, with the hope that in concurrence with that, we would be looking at repaving or reinforcing Monterey and Oakland.
I did speak to the village attorney this evening, but I don't know if you want to give your opinion on that.
Well, those are the 3 options that you have. You can take no action tonight and, discuss it further at a committee meeting and revise it as necessary. It can be adopted in its current form currently. You can adopt it in its current form, and then if things are not working correctly, you can come back at a future date and amend it once you have some better idea of what the actual impact is going to be to that area. So,
I think what the attorney though had, and if I'm speaking for you wrong, it's easier, I think, to pass it and then revisit it in a year or 2 as developments go, than trying to put a sunset in there that typically is not, it just causes more problems. Is that kind of what you were?
yes, I concur.
Okay. So we can always put it in there that we'll revisit it in a certain amount of time once it, or we can just make sure that we revisit it with traffic and safety once the developments are going. Trustee Slow.
Can I just get a little bit of clarification? If my memory serves me right, the use of a truck route or the traffic that we're talking about with trucks, although one day is too much for some people, there is a short duration, if I'm remembering correct, that this truck traffic is heavier, like 2 or 3 months out of the spring season, and then it really declines off due to the lack of need of the product that they offer.
That's correct.
So we're not talking a 12-month around the clock type of truck traffic.
That's correct.
That's correct? Thank you.
Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. Is there a way that we could, I agree with Trustee Murphy about possibly having a sunset. And I know that you said that that might be difficult, but I think we owe it to our residents. And where I'm going with this is I think that it's possible that we could put a date in there for a sunset, but also have it so that way our residents could have a public input meeting to tell us how they think that time frame has gone, what they're seeing on their streets with that new implemented truck route. If trucks are adhering to it, if they're not. I think their input is extremely valuable, and I think Trustee Murphy was on that. I think that's a good idea, and I would be in favor of doing a temporary, or having a sunset on this, so that way, after that meeting and after that input, we could come back to this to see if we want to make it a permanent change. Thank you.
Trustee Kumar?
I understand what they're saying, that, you know, it's a landscaping business. It's about 3 months of the year that you have truck traffic, but those 3 months are the 3 months of the year everybody's out in the park, everybody's walking, everybody's playing. So it's kind of, it's not like they're doing their business in winter and we're, you know, the rest of the world is going out in winter as well. That's the time they go out in the car. So, it doesn't solve necessarily the problem. And I have to corroborate also with Trustee Murphy in her suggestion for a sunset on this, and for input meetings with the public. There has been a lot of discussion. I am not against it. The truck route per se, because it does help a few of the streets, but as truth be told, Wildwood is still going to be an issue.
Okay. Well, if someone wants to make that motion, to add that. Trustee Kumar?
I will make that motion to add that sunset
Okay, what,
provision to this.
what date, we have to put a hard date in there then?
I would say exactly, given my suggestion is 1.5 years from hence.
I don't think
Trustee
that's long
Patrick.
enough.
Just to kind of piggyback off of what Trustee Cielo was saying about the busiest months, and right now, they are approaching with that place. I think if we put this in place right away and at least give it a season, whether that be to the end of summer or even a whole year after that, I think that is a good time frame. It will give us an idea of what the busy month, summer and spring are like, as well as what the truck route would look like during the winter months. I would suggest 1 year.
I'm okay with that.
You want to change your motion then?
Yeah, I will
Okay.
change my motion to a 1-year revisit on this particular issue.
Okay, do we have a second?
I have a question. Are we going to add the temporary in there, in the text?
Yes.
It's not necessary if it's a sunset.
Yeah, if it's a sunset.
Okay.
But the problem with that is that we should really review this before that year. It's my suggestion that we make it 1.5 years though, and start to review it after a year.
Okay.
Because if we sunset after a year, you're not gonna have time to review a year's worth of data.
That's kind of where I was going, but,
Okay.
you know,
So
if
that's,
you want 1.25 years, that's fine too.
yeah. Okay, so why don't you finalize your.
1.25 years, because that'll give us enough time, because if we delay it, then the season goes off again.
Alright.
Yeah,
Okay, do we have a second for that?
15.
Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'll second that. However, I have one more statement that I'd like to make regarding this. In the text, or however we pass this in the wording, I would also like it to reiterate that we should, prior to making this a permanent decision, that we include that public input meeting.
Absolutely.
Can we put that in the ordinance?
Yeah, that's not necessary to go in the code. You can just follow those internal procedures however you like and get an information feedback meeting.
Okay, do we have a second for that motion to amend the ordinance?
It was Patrick, and he just give me a second.
Okay, so that was your second, okay.
I'd like to second that.
Okay. Okay, so we have a vote on the amending the ordinance.
You can take your vote and I'll ask my question after that.
Okay. Clerk Konecki?
Okay, Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Salella,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
President Cassell.
Yes. Okay, so discussion on the ordinance as written. Trustee Kozar?
So Mary had mentioned that we talked about trees, planting some trees and some landscaping on some of the blocks down there, Monterey especially. Has anything been discussed or done since coffee with the board with regard to that?
Yeah, I did speak to Manager Guerrero about that, and I'll let you speak on that.
Yes. So the Public Works Department's getting ready to make its purchase of trees for the spring planting. That's usually done in April around Arbor Day. And so staff has been instructed to take a look on Wildwood. I will be honest, we'll probably stay clear of the south side of Wildwood because that is where the tri-trail is going. Obviously, we don't want to plant trees and then have to have construction interrupt them, but staff is reviewing those locations for open areas to plant some additional trees along Wildwood and Monterey.
Okay. How can we follow up with our residents maybe by next meeting? You can give a number on how many trees are going to get planted and where? Is that reasonable?
We can probably establish the locations. Yeah.
Okay. And then previously, I brought up and we've talked about, I mean, several people have, about revisiting the exit entrance on 83. And across the board, that keeps getting shut down. However, I mean, we've gotten, one can argue that information always hasn't been as clear as it should be, but I think some of those problems have been handled. Now, with kind of some new staff in place, I would like to see something that either confirms or denies or tells us what we need to do in order to make some sort of entry exit on 83. More than just somebody's opinion, you know, in some casual sense. I would actually like that to be requested upon the state and, you know, give us some hard information, hard facts on that, whether or not that can be done.
Trustee Patrick.
And to piggyback off of that, the state of Illinois is doing the Route 83 corridor project as well. So they should have some information on to what that redevelopment would look like in that area as well, if that's something that we could implement into that project.
Okay. We'll look at that.
Let me try to add that.
Okay.
And then just the last thing to add, could somebody from staff actually talk with perhaps Mary or some of the other residents and just let them know exactly where you're striping, so that they kind of have a better understanding of that, you know, perhaps if they wanted to add or had suggestions or something like that, rather than them just waking up one day and seeing the people out there painting. Just, you know, a little communication between them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take care of that.
We'll be in contact to review the locations. There's only certain locations that can be put per the NUTCD, but we can review those locations and meet with the residents and let them know.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Clerk Konecki. This is on the amended ordinance.
Okay. Okay, that would be trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Kumar, Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Salella,
Yes.
trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, we'll go to item 9A. An ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, authorizing and providing for the issue of general obligation bonds, alternate revenue source, Series 2022A, not to exceed $7,500,000, for the purpose of financing a portion of the cost to construct and equip a village recreation center with the village, prescribing the details of said bonds, providing for the imposition of taxes sufficient to pay the same, and for the collection, segregation, and application of certain village revenues to pay said bonds. Andrew Guerra.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The village board approved an ordinance on January 10th, 2022, authorizing the issuance of bonds to help fund the proposed recreational facility in the amount not to exceed $7.5 million. The notice of the issuance of the bonds was published on January 21st of 2022, and the village did not receive any petitions contesting the bond within the 30-day period. Therefore, today, the bonds were issued for sale. This ordinance will allow the sale to be finalized so that the village can receive additional revenue for the project. And if you will, Your Honor, and just for the public out there, we have updated the ordinance to include the final numbers. Obviously, the sale was performed today. And then all your board members should have received kind of two memos from Spear Financial kind of outlining the award of the bonds and then also the revenue sufficiency report stating that we can fund that. And if it pleases you and the board, Your Honor, we do have Anthony Maselli here from Spear Financial that can kind of step us through of what kind of occurred today.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening. So as mentioned, we took bids today on the competitive sale of the village's 2022 A bonds. They were offered for sale at an original par amount of $7,415,000.
We received a total of 16 bids from 4 bidders through an open auction process, with the best bid coming from Piper Sandler out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Their rate originally was a 2.8882% for the issue. Once the sale was completed, we took their final interest rates, resized the issue in order to provide the village with $7.5 million in project proceeds. So the final par amount is $7,490,000 at a final true interest cost of 2.8973%. With the passage of the ordinance today, you will lock in those terms, lock in the rate, lock in the par amount, and then we'll go on to closing on March 29th, when the village will receive the $7.5 million in funding. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion for the ordinance. Trustee Corkery, we have a second. Trustee Patrick.
I'd like to make that second.
Any other questions or comments? Trustee Solella.
Just one question that kind of jumped out at me. The 7.5 million was also to equip. I thought our initial conversations were, we weren't so concerned about equipping the building with gym equipment and whatnot. It was for construction. Mm-hmm. Is that something I missed from an earlier conversation, or is that something that has been added since then? Either way, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I noticed the verbiage has changed.
If Your Honor will. I believe the verbiage was so that we could have that option. Obviously, if it's not included in the sale of the bonds, we would not be able to utilize the funding for equipping the recreation facility. So we kind of kept the language all-inclusive to give us the most flexibility in that funding. Obviously, I think internally with staff, the idea is to build the most building as we can, as you'll see in the next item. And if we need to cut from equipping or some of the other ones, we would make those cuts. But we didn't want to limit ourselves with the financing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornacki, please.
Trustee Solella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
President Cassell?
Yes. Okay, we will move on to item 10A, a resolution. Resolution of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, authorizing the submission of a grant application with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources and approving a site and scope plan to build a recreation center at Lions Park. Andrew Guerrero.
Thank you, Your Honor. In September of 2021, the Village of Villa Park received notice that the community was awarded $10 million grant from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, Build Illinois Bond Fund grants towards the purchase of a building and of a recreational facility. Additionally, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a general bond obligations that we just occurred, an amount not to exceed $7.5 million, was approved on January 10th, 2022. A subsequent ordinance authorizing the sale of the bonds was approved tonight, and the site and scope of the plan needs to be approved so that we can include it in the grant application due to the IDNR on March 31st of 2022. And Your Honor and the Board, if it so pleases, we do have Andrew Caputo from Williams, along with Tom Polis and Ann, to kind of, so the general public at home can see the site plan, because obviously the site plan's included in our agenda, but that's not easily seen, so I've asked them to maybe present some of the changes and what it looks like to everyone here this evening before we vote. And with that, I can turn it over.
First, you can do the presentation. Okay.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. It's good to see all of you. Since the last time we were here, we're excited to present to you tonight what we've been working on with village staff regarding the design, the preliminary design concepts for the community center. And we'll jump right in to show you our presentation. So the first item we're going to look at this evening is our site plan. This is an overall aerial view of the Lions Park site. And I'm going to use my trackpad here to point, if you can see that. The white block in the middle of the drawing here, this is the community center where we've sited the building in the middle of the park, a little bit to the south towards Wildwood. We have the main south facade on the building facing a point of pedestrian public access. That would also be your connecting point from the Great Western Trail, and you can see that element in orange that we discussed at our prior presentations about being an important access point that will connect residents from the trail to the community center. And that will be both a pedestrian and a bike path. Just to the west of the path, before you get to the building, we have a small parking lot in the front of the building. You can see that development here in gray on the site drawing. That's our south parking lot. It has two entrances, one here, if you could see my cursor, to the east, and then one here to the south off Wildwood, and there'll be a circular flow through that parking lot. It has immediate adjacency right to the main entrance of the building, and that's where our accessible parking will be located. To the east, we have a linear parking lot that runs along the east side of the site. We've located the parking on the east side to keep that away from the residential area. We want to respect the day and night times of the residences, and so of course, like any parking lot, there'll be some evening security lighting, and locating that on the more commercial side of the property is helpful to the residents. And that parking lot will have the ability to expand. So you can see a little bit lighter gray shading on the drawing there up towards the top in the northeast corner. That parking lot will be able to grow in the future. As we've mentioned at our previous presentations, we're looking to also share some parking with the future development across the street at the former mulch site there. For that parking garage will also support some parking capacity for this new facility. We have some important site elements to point out to you on this drawing that we've included with the design per staff's direction. We have a new playground. That's the purple element shown here. The playground will be available for use for anyone, basically just open to the public. They would be able to walk down to the facility here and access the playground. The playground will also have a connection to the building as well. And then we have a patio element that will be connecting between the playground and the basketball court. The patio element will be just an enjoyable place for folks to sit and watch kids on the playground or on the basketball court or even in the ball field. And then working our way east, we have a new outdoor basketball court. That'll be a high school sized court, and it'll have a adjacency, it'll have an adjacency to the existing the new gym and the floor plan, which we'll see in a moment. And then the last major element is the renovation of the ball field. That's the element on the north of the building. We'll be expanding that element a little bit, renovating the infield and the outfield with some new fencing. All right, let's go to the floor plans. Oh, I'm sorry, Tom mentioned to me one thing that I forgot to point out, and let me just get my cursor back here. There's some existing green space to the west of the site, and that's this little area here, if you could see my cursor. And we're proposing to do some development here to just create a nice linear path and some seating areas just to create a nice enjoyable place to hang out in, basically in nature. And so that'll be a good spot for just reflecting or relaxing. Our program now is the next thing I'd like to move on to before we get to the floor plan. This is similar to a slide we've shown in the past in our past presentations. It's just important to let you know how we as architects, when we're designing a recreation center, how we organize the major program elements in the facility. Our plans are color-coded according to this scheme. These are our primary categories, and we have spaces and rooms within each one of these categories. So we have athletics, health, fitness, general program, facility administration, lobby circulation, and general building support. And we have areas, these areas are estimated at this point in the project. So we're looking at a total area, total gross square footage of this building, somewhere around 41,500 and so square feet. We'll be in that range as we continue with staff to evolve the plan. And this number may, of course, go up or down a little bit as the design continues. All right, let's take a look at our floor plans. So this is the first floor plan. Hopefully it looks familiar to you, although we've made some improvements working closely with staff in recent weeks, and we're very excited about the floor plan and the function of the circulation through the building and all the amenities included on this first floor here that I'll walk you through here briefly. And so if you remember from our prior slide, yellow is the circulation. So just to orient yourself, it's the easiest thing to understand is the south entrance to the building is shown there in yellow. So you'll enter the building through a glassy facade that will be something very welcoming. As you enter the lobby, there'll be some breakout spaces, some seating for social gathering and just hanging out in the lobby. You'll have the opportunity when you enter the lobby to the left, you'll see two large purple rooms. Those are the multi-purpose rooms. They also are attached to an element on the top right that's also in purple, and that's the kitchen. And that kitchen is going to be a training, catering, and serving kitchen. So that'll have the opportunity for the village to program classes. And it'll also have the ability to serve any residents and those using the facility. We also have a patio shown in the tan or beige color to the west, and that's an outdoor patio right off that multipurpose room. As we work our way back into the lobby, if we look to the north, we have a monumental stair, a grand stair that'll take you upstairs. And so that's a primary element, a primary feature of the design. Right when you walk in the building, there'll be something very prominent in terms of wayfinding and something very inviting. To the right of that, we have our control desk, and then we have some office support spaces for administration. You see some small rooms in green there located to the right of the monumental stair. Then if we work our way north, as if we walk past the stair and we're walking deeper into the back of the building, you'll see two large purple rooms there in the back, and those are our general program rooms. One of the rooms is also designated for preschool, so that's an important consideration that staff wants to provide for residents. We've got a couple single user washrooms and a shared storage room there shown in purple. And then in gray, just south of that, we have our washroom core, and that's for all folks on the first floor there. Anyone using the first floor can use those facilities. And then to the west, we have a green block. That's the corner there, and that's the administration. And just south of the administration, we have a circulation stair in the elevator. So let's work our way to the right of the building. As if we entered the lobby and we're walking to the east, we walk past another purple block that you see, and that purple block there is a early childhood and party room, basically a flex space. That's a very a neat space that'll offer a lot of opportunities for programming. We're going to show you some photos of how that space might be designed in a moment. As we walk north through the center corridor, and this is an element that we changed a little bit from the previous design, we rotated the gym. And so now we have this spine that runs along the gym and the locker room core. That spine element really works well with the site because it takes you right outside to the rest of the park, and you'll have a view right through those glass doors of all of the amenities that exist currently outside. So that was an important connection that we've established with this revision and improvement to the plan. As you walk north along that yellow corridor spine to the west, as I mentioned, you've got another gray core of locker rooms. We have a family locker room concept here with this design. So we have multiple locker rooms according to the plumbing code with various showers. Some rooms have showers, some are individual with just water closets and sinks, and some are dry changing rooms. We have some locker areas for families and some benches, and so this will be a highly active space. So we've tried to designate a lot of room here for circulation and the operation of this particular function. It seems to work well in the plan. To the east, we've got our primary element, the gym. And in working with staff in recent weeks, we've also refined the courts on the gym. At the scale of this drawing, it's a little difficult to see, but basically just to remind you, what we have here is basically a primary court consisting of high school basketball and volleyball. So that would be a north-south court. We have built-in telescoping bleachers all the way to the east side that'll fold up against the wall. That would be for those primary competitive or recreational events. And then the gym is actually able to be divided in 3 parts. So there's actually 3 cross courts, if you could see those on the drawing, for volleyball, and there'll be a curtain that lowers down from the ceiling that will actually separate those 3 cross volleyball courts. In addition to that, we have a pickleball and badminton, and those are shown actually as 4 courts, and the dividers would be raised in that case because there's enough separation that you don't need the dividers for that type of activity. We also have a futsal court in the middle that is actually just fits nicely into the plan. We have movable bleachers, we call them tip and rolls, on the north and south side of the drawing there that you could see. And then we have some support spaces in gray to the bottom right, and then to the top right, we have some receiving and storage, and then our emergency exit.
Go on, Andrew, really quick.
Go ahead.
So a couple highlights. I think we missed that we have 3 recreational courts going across too for basketball, in addition to the volleyball courts. And really, we work diligently with staff to kind of, I guess, really take use of all the program space in this building and really consolidate into a functional way their administration, support administration that you need for running a facility like this. But they were gracious enough to kind of give up square footage so we can maximize our program square footage, which is what we were always after, all about turning over the facility and having the proper storage in there so you can fill the coffers all day long, all year long, and just kind of change over activities. So I want to give kudos to all your staff for really pushing us hard on our design approach to this all the way through it. You know, in a month's time here, it's been a whirlwind, and it's exciting. So just wanted to point that all out.
Thanks, Tom. Okay. Let's take a look at the second floor. So the second floor footprint is a little bit smaller than the first floor, and let me describe the circulation through the second floor and then the spaces in detail. So if you can remember that monument stair right in the middle there, the white space with the X is the 2-story lobby space. So when you enter the lobby, again, you'll have a grand space with lots of light, very inviting. Coming up that monument stair, you're going to be on that again, that yellow shading representing circulation. So you'll come up that stair and you'll immediately be able to see outside north to the park. So we have that north facade at the top of the yellow and pink shading there. That is all a window wall. So that window wall looks out to a roof terrace, and then beyond the roof terrace is the park. So we think this is a wonderful suggestion that Trustee Kumar, thank you for that suggestion. We've expanded on that a little bit with our design. But you can see this element is a wonderful element because it could be used for programming on very nice, on very nice summer days. We're considering an option, perhaps there's a canopy or a partial canopy over that terrace. The green areas in the drawing are roof areas. Because of the design of the roof terrace, the way that we're going to approach the structure of this building is actually to design the entire north section, the roof and the terrace, structurally, so that in the future, if you want to expand this building, you'd be able to build the second floor out over the terrace and the roof area, if your program should support it. So that's a nice opportunity that you will have to expand programming in this building in the future. As well as the gym. You would also be able to expand the gym northward as well into the park to the north. All right, so let's back into the space. We've got that yellow circulation spine. You can see we've got another breakout area for some socialization and gathering and just hanging out, having a snack. So we have some tables shown there right along our window wall, right when you come up to the top of the stairs. To the left, to the west of that, we have a little vending area, and then you can see the corridor that extends to the west to the end of the building with an emergency exit stair. And then if we're also in that lounge seating area, if we look to the east, and the shading changes to the purple color, that's the stretching area. That's similar to our previous design that we show you. That is entirely open, that whole space. It changes color on our drawing, but it's a wide open space. And so that's a nice thing to program and have that's adjacent to the running track. And as we continue east, we'll be able to walk through a set of glass doors onto the running track where we have 2 lanes 5 feet wide that run all the way around the gym. And you'll be able to look down below to the activity that's happening in the gym while you're on the track. All right, so the main program spaces besides the running track and the terrace that we have are located on the south side of the building. And those are the 3 elements that are shown in purple. On the west side is our fitness center. And the fitness center is an element that is one that we envision programmed with lots of exterior and interior glass. One of the things that you want to do with a community center or a recreation center is have the building advertise the energy and excitement that's taking place in the building. So the fitness center is an important element to put on your primary facade. So folks driving by or walking see the activity and they think, wow, that's cool. I need to get some exercise and get up and enjoy the room. The other 2 rooms to the east, there are 2 programming rooms. They're the Group X and dance rooms. One of the changes that we've made on the design recently with staff is to make this space a little bit more flexible. So instead of having 2 rooms, the design is revised a little bit now so that there's a operable partition. So that if there's a larger class, that partition can be rolled all the way back and then it just can function as one large room, which again is another great opportunity for flexibility. And then we have a couple small support spaces upstairs. We have a smaller washroom core that you could see there in gray. That's just north of the dance and the Group X rooms. There's a small office and some assessment room off the fitness center. All right, and we want to show you some photos, just like we have at our prior presentation, just to build some excitement and also generate an understanding of the type of rooms and spaces and things that are going to be happening in this building. Some of these photos will look familiar to you. We've shown them before, and there's some new photos here as well. So we have 3 or 4 slides here to show you, so we can just touch on these briefly. This first one we've shown you before. These are facilities that we've designed previously. Want to show you what the athletics on the running track it might look like on the top. The athletic space is one that you'll see in this particular image. There's some translucent glazing running around the walls of the gym. This type of glazing is very nice in a facility such as this so that you don't get glare in the court. It provides a diffuse light and then is also quite well for sustainability goals because your lighting can be tied to daylight sensors, and so you don't consume as much energy using these types of translucent panels around your building facade. Athletics, as I mentioned, we have the running track running around the building. Your fitness center, we just have a photo with some equipment and again showing the views outside while you're on the equipment. Not only is the fitness center nice to advertise to residents, but while you're on the equipment, you certainly would like a view and to have things to look out to and enjoy looking outside while you're exercising, and so you will have that opportunity. Your Group X, again, is a flexible space, right? There'll be lots of programming there, whether it's dance, aerobics, spin, karate, all kinds of functions can happen in those Group X rooms. Top left, multi-use. Right, this will be an important space for seniors. Actually an important space for all ages because we're looking at a multi-generational facility, but especially important for seniors because it's a great point of gathering. This is the room that you might remember when we were looking at the floor plan just a minute ago where I pointed out that kitchen. And so the kitchen on the top right photo is a teaching kitchen, and we're envisioning a rolling door that would come up on one side of the multi-use walls, so that from the multi-use room, that's the view that you would see. You would basically see into the kitchen, where you can imagine there would be this large center island as it would be for teaching. And then, of course, if there was an event in the multi-use room, you could lower that door and just function as if it was a banquet room or a meeting room. Preschool general program. This is a slide at the bottom left that we showed before on previous presentations, and we wanted to show you the activity that might happen in this room. Lots of kids type furniture and tables, chairs, toys, lots of bright colors and tactile elements. Early childhood birthday party room. This is a new image that we wanted to show you from a previous project, and this is what it might look like at the facility that we're planning with you. And the interior glass wall that you see in this photo is actually one that's collapsible. So on the drawing, the glass wall actually folds, and it folds out into a alcove. So again, it provides flexibility for using the space. Great rental opportunity. All right, on our last slide of precedent spaces, we have the lobby photo to the left, and that shows what that monumental stair might look like. This, obviously, we haven't completed the design for the facility yet, so this is just something inspiring. It just shows you basically how would this space look like, and this is just an example, right? We want to have a grand stair that invites you to make you want to go upstairs. In this particular design, it just so happened that on the second floor there was glazing, and again, the facility that we are designing for you would have a similar feel. And then to the right, the gathering opportunities in the lobby and upstairs in the lounge. And then the bottom right is a photo of the family locker rooms, right? So we just show that open circulation area where you have lockers and access to the dry and wet washrooms and some grooming areas and lockers. And then the exterior images, we just have one slide for exterior images. These are just some things that we've been thinking about. You've seen this slide previously. We're considering roof garden elements, maybe in planters that might occur on the roof, again, for sustainability. To the right is a roof terrace image on how that might be furnished for a multi-purpose activity. We talked before about solar panels and about healthy building design and air quality, mechanical systems that take advantage of energy efficiency, and these are the types of things that we'll be pursuing as we continue the design. Tom was just mentioning me to remember one of the things that we're going to do on this project is we'll follow the LEED checklist for all of our sustainability goals with staff, and we'll work our way through each phase of design using the LEED checklist. And if it's desired, we certainly could pursue LEED certification or design a net zero building. And for those of you that don't know, a net zero building is one that does not consume any energy. There is additional cost to design a net zero building because those systems are different, and there are grant opportunities that are out there. So we've been talking with staff about that. But at the very least, for the budgets that we're currently presenting and you've approved, there will be at a minimum an effort to design this to be a sustainable building and be as as efficient as the budget supports. All right, now we're going to talk about exterior images, and I'm going to turn things over to Anna from our office, and Anna's going to walk you through the exterior design, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about costs.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of Williams Architects, I'd like to present the architectural look proposal for Lions Park Community Center. So currently you're looking at the south elevation of our proposal, and this is the most prominent of the elevations as it faces East Wildwood Avenue. And just to orient you a little bit more, a few blocks to the right of this image is the central business district for Villa Park. So you can see in this view that our proposal for the architecture is very welcoming. It's very public. It has a nice character, which is also modern and urban. And there are key elements that enable that kind of an expression. So first, there is a generous use of glass. Second, we have light colored metal frames that divide the elevation into different sections. Third, we're using translucent panels at the gymnasium. And fourth, we have a material palette that's fairly neutrally toned. And I should mention that we're still working on the coloring of the palette overall. So let me now walk you through how all these elements play on the different elevations and work together. And I'm going to begin with the south elevation, so we'll continue with this view, mostly because it has the main entrance. So the main entrance to the building is right in the center of the elevation, and you can see it right as the left-hand side of the elevation steps a little bit forward with respect to the right-hand side. The main entry door is actually located on the east face of the vestibule. It's right here. But it's also aligned on axis with the portion of East Wildwood Avenue that swings north-south along Lions Park. And so the main entrance will be very visible both from the east approach as well as from the south approach. You can see that the main entrance has a glassy expression, as does the lobby immediately to the left of it. And we also have a lot of glass at the upper level wing where the Group X rooms and the fitness rooms are located. So having the most exciting programs in the community center be clad in glass makes the activity of the community center very visible, and it makes for a very dynamic and exciting approach as one approaches the building. And it's also a great marketing tool because essentially the programs within the community center are visible and marketable to anyone walking by the project. It's a great asset to have. So looking at this elevation again, on either side of the lobby, glassy lobby at the ground level, you see two masonry walls, I should say. And these walls are currently shown in a light palette, but we're still working on that. We do know, however, that these walls are likely to be either brick or cultured stone. And this is because we would like to use materials that are familiar to the Villa Park community. So those feel appropriate. And then I also mentioned that we would be using lightly colored metal frames. Those are at the upper level of the proposal. And those divide up the facade into sections, making it a little bit more scale and approachable. Then we have the translucent panels. Those are the light colored material that you see in the upper level of the gymnasium. And as Andrew mentioned, that would be a great daylighting feature for the gymnasium. Okay, so there's one more element which is between the metal, light-colored metal frames, and that is a window which is on the upper level and is right in line with the walking track. So as you walk along the track, you'd be able to have views of the outside as well. Okay, so now we are at the southwest corner of our proposal, and this is an opportunity to talk about the west elevation. You can see that compared to the south elevation, the west elevation has a lot less glass, and this is because it faces the backyards of residences, and we wanted to give them a little bit of privacy. So prominent glass element in this view is really the multi-use rooms, which are at the front of the image at the ground level. And then another volume that's fairly prominent is the masonry clad volume. That's the lighter toned volume. It's single story high, and it has punched openings for the administrative wing. And then the balance of the material that you see in the medium tone, we're thinking that that would be a fiber cement. And now we're on the north elevation. The north elevation of Lions Community Center would face the Lions Park, so it would be a very visible elevation as well. You can see on the right-hand side a single-story masonry volume with large punched openings, and those would be windows into the general use rooms. Above that single-story volume is the rooftop terrace that Andrew mentioned, and you can see that the wall that separates that rooftop terrace from the inside of the building would be very glazed, and that would provide great northern light into the building. And it would also allow the rooftop terrace to be very visible from the community center, which would be a very nice feature. And then on the left-hand side, you see the gymnasium. The gymnasium has simple cladding. It has masonry at the base and then translucent panels at the upper level. Okay, so in this view, you're standing at the southeast corner, and in the foreground, you see the east elevation of the Lions Community Center. The east elevation is fairly simple, as it really consists of the long face of that one-court gymnasium. So at the ground level, it has masonry with a little bit of accents, and then at the upper level, it has the translucent panels. What I'd like to call your attention to most in this view is really the entrance volume that you see in the middle ground of the image, so that you can see how very exciting and public and dynamic the entrance would feel walking from the central business district. And in this last view, we're really zooming in on the entrance element. You can see how the light-toned metal frame swoops down to create a canopy over the single-story main entrance. And you can see all the glass around the lobby and the upper-level programs, and how public and welcoming that glass makes the entire entrance experience.
Project costs. This is our cost summary slide. You've seen this before from our previous presentations, and just so that I can explain it again for those of you that might not have seen this slide, this basically is how we divide costs as architects. We look at the site and building as one cost block, and we look at the construction cost. That's sometimes referred to as what you might hear as hard cost. That's the cost to build the building by the general contractors and the subcontractors. So we're looking at the site and building costs of around $15 million, and the total project cost for the site and building of about $17.25 million. Again, the difference is soft costs. So when you build a building, you have hard costs and soft costs. And soft costs include things such as owner costs and AE fees and furniture, fixtures and equipment, surveys, legal fees, all of the fitness and athletic equipment that you'll outfit inside the building, and that's the reason for the difference. We have our exterior elements that are an important part of the project listed on the second row, the ball field and the playground and the basketball courts. That construction cost, we're looking at around $500,000. The total project costs of around $575,000. And if we sum up those two, we look at a construction cost, a hard cost of about $15.5 million, and a total project cost of around $17.8 million. Analyzing costs is something that we'll do throughout the design phase. As the design evolves, we have more cost information, right? So a lot of the design is yet to occur, right? Because we're just beginning our design phase. So we have some contingencies here built in, which is standard practice and cost estimating, and anticipating that systems are yet to be developed. And so this is a process that we'll work through as we evolve through the design to try to keep on budget. And with that, I'm going to say thank you to all of you for listening to our presentation. Our next steps, with your approval, will be to proceed with completing the grant application, where we'll be including these drawings as exhibits. And then we'll be completing our schematic design phase and moving into our next design development phase. So thank you again, everyone.
Thank you. Great presentation. Okay, we will get a motion for the resolution, 10A. Do you have anyone? Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Trustee Solal.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or comments? Trustee Kumar.
Just quickly, I assume that the lighting is still going to be on the baseball field back there, along with everything else, because I didn't hear that, but I assume that's going to be a lighted baseball field. Yes.
And we would probably look to replace the lighting to match whatever
The design element.
Is, right,
Okay.
of the whole facility.
Okay, so that's the only thing. I do love the new design. There's a lot of positive elements.
Trustee Solal.
Just a quick question or clarification, and it may be a premature question, but seeing the preschool area and the infant or young child, is that intended, or is it going to be intended to be used as a full-time type of a daycare, or is it just to accommodate people who are at the recreation center working out? Because we have a new early childhood developments that are being constructed as we speak in town.
So it would not be to compete with what you have in the private sector here. It's just for the users of the facility at core hours of the day when it's a necessity. When the young moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas come to the facility and want to be able to let their kids be tended for that are too young to partake in other activities.
Okay.
And then that's why we showed the flexibility of that space with the collapsible
Would you mind,
walls.
just to make sure that. we
Yeah,
have the microphone.
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
So, sorry about that. So, and the collapsibility of the walls gives you ability to do something else in that space from a program perspective. You can create a party room out of it. You can create a rental opportunity. You could even have a senior function and a teen function in that space. It's really pretty flexible.
Yeah, I was just concerned that if it's something that was going to be a permanent, full-time
No.
offering, then we're in competition. Are we going to be able to sustain?
Yeah. Now, the
Part of the
preschool
facility.
program is something that we're running here, so that's a little different. But if you saw the pictures, I know Andrew said young kids in colors and stuff, but it was kind of neutral too. We're able to take with the storage areas, all that equipment, put it into the closets, and you could turn those rooms over at night for other use and other program activities.
Okay, thank you.
I think Director Gola wanted to add something here.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you. So the preschool area would still do a little preschool and offer it in conjunction with what the school district is doing where they're not servicing a certain age group. So we'll do some preschool on that far west wing. The other side that was off the gym is like a 2-hour daycare. It's not going to, right now we have a DCFS licensed daycare. Their parameters are getting more stringent. We're having a hard time finding instructors that meet their qualifications. So we'd probably do it like in 2-hour increments, up to 10 hours per week. And then also people can drop off their children if they want to work out.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Kumar.
It looks like there is still a preschool space with what Director Gola said, and is that, well, it looked in the picture that's like abutting the playground area also in the back.
Correct. It has proximity to the
Proximity,
playground.
yeah, okay.
You'll be able to walk right outside to the playground.
Because it seems like that's what the kids would want to do, so.
Yes, it's the space, right, if I can get my cursor
Yeah.
there. It's that space, and the photo precedent image of that is right, right here. And that's why I'm saying it's a flexible space for when you want to program it at night.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Well, thank you. Thank you for coming out and nice presentation and hope to get this thing moving along. Okay, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Petrick,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Silella.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. So let's get it built. Okay, move on to item 10B, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, approving a professional service agreement for architectural and engineering services with Williams Architects Aquatics of Itasca, Illinois, for architectural and engineering services in an amount not to exceed $1,378,080. Manager Guerra.
Yes, thank you. Again, in September of 2021, the Village of Villa Park received notice that the community received a $10 million grant from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources Bill Illinois Bond Fund Grant. The grant is to be used towards the costs associated with the construction of a parks and recreation facility. An ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds, Series 2022A, in the amount not to exceed $7.5 million was also approved just earlier tonight. What we have before you now is the architecture and engineering service agreement, which is needed so that we can finalize design to complete the project out to construction. It should be noted that in this service agreement, it is to include all the design and then also carries through the construction support on the project as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the order? Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Trustee Solella.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? Trustee Kozar.
I think this basically what the board is given right here is take it or leave it, right? Because if we don't pass this contract, we can't provide the grant application, and therefore we're delayed or we can't get the grant, right? So the board got this on Friday, has 2-3 days to review this contract. I'm not sure if this contract has, like, what review process this contract has gone under, or the services agreement has gone under. This would be a perfect example of why committee of the whole or an executive session would have been good for our board members to sit and discuss this. Things that I see in this agreement are 7.8%. Now, I know that with certain professionals, you're not allowed to bid on cost. It's only on professional services. But again, if, as a board, we were able to discuss this, perhaps we could go back and kind of tweak this contract a little bit and make it a little more palatable. 1.378 is a lot of money for our village to spend. And it's a lot of money to have for the board to make a decision with basically 3 days' notice at a point where we have to accept it or we're not going to be able to submit our grant. 7.8% is the total amount, or the percentage based on the total construction amount. There's a provision in here, if construction amount goes up, we pay 7.8% of whatever that construction amount goes up.
I can speak to that if you'd like. So you would not pay that if you didn't increase the material scope or the cost of the project. So we're locked in. We don't bring any funds to this project. It's our job to make the project happen.
So if it goes out for bid and it comes out at
18 million.
18 million,
We got to give you 17.5.
okay.
Or if you agree to throw some extra funds because it's the same material scope, we're not going to get paid on that.
Okay, that's not how I read it, but if that's the case,
It says mutually approved by you, so I don't just get to go, we as a company don't just go
Again,
carte blanche.
would you mind just going, sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. So I could sit here and answer questions just in case more things come up. But that's how that would work. And then, of course, on the legal provisions, we would work with the attorney to have a formal agreement. These have the business terms. If I threw an AIA document in front of you, you'd be spinning your heads around looking at that document. So we would attach this to the AIA agreement that your council would look at for sure.
so then would the 7.8% apply if, as we were actually finalizing this and going through that, we took certain things off and the price went down, would it correspondingly go down 7.8% on whatever we took out of the project? Or is there only an upside to it?
Well, no, if we all agreed and you want to pare down the scope of the project and you want to save $1 million and you want us to strip things out of the project, then of course we can do that. But it's not at the expense of guessing. I mean, at the end of the day, this is going to be a tough project to bring in. We're going to have a lot of work to bring it in at that cost, especially if you're watching what's going on with pricing out there at this point. So, but if you all agree that, hey, we want to save the ball field, we're going to do this by ourselves, and the project's coming in at 17 million, you could do it by yourself, we can make that provision. Well, I think we talk about it in the design phase when we make those decisions.
So when you say we all agree, it's the board's agreement and your firm's agreement?
Correct. I mean, that's what you direct to us, and we say that we can pull it in this scope. Of course, you as the board have that ultimate authority. Your staff directs us accordingly, right? So we're not going to go towards 18 million and all of a sudden, hey, you got to make 16 million happen here. I mean, we would want to know about this ahead of time so we can design to those parameters.
Okay. If I were writing this contract and hiring you guys to do it, I would also put in a provision, which I've done in other contracts for building, is if you're gonna shop this out and bid this out to contractors and oversee that, which you are, I put in a provision which is basically like a finder's fee. If you save the village money, you get a cut of that. What it does is it gives us the benefit of saving money, gives you the motivation to save us money. A lot of times we bid out stuff and we'll bid it out on day one, but we don't need that construction to happen until day 300. So we can continue to bid that out, bid that out, bid that out until day 300 comes along,
Right.
and save some money along the way.
So that's a provision for the construction side of this. You know, we are professional services in terms of, and we're going to be here for you through construction, and we're going to help consult in construction, but we are not going to be means and methods. So I want to make that clear. As professionals, we're not going to be letting any bids, but we can give our professional advice and be your eyes and ears on this and make those types of recommendations to the group for construction activity, regardless what construction delivery approach we take for this project, which is certainly under review at this point in time.
So who seeks the bids on these? The board? The village manager?
Mike, do you want?
Yeah, so we've been talking with Williams, there's two different approaches that we could probably take on this. Since it does have grant money, there is certain restrictions that we have to follow in terms of having disadvantaged business percentages in their women-owned businesses, veterans-owned privileges, apprenticeships. So we could go the traditional method, which would be Williams to design completely the project, all the plans and specs, and we put it out to bid, and we get one lump sum bid from a general contractor to construct the building. A second way of doing it is what we're exploring, the pros and cons, is to go out for an RFP. And with that, we would hire then what would be a construction manager, probably more in the lines of what I think you're talking about, Trustee Kozar, where they would be our owner agent on the project to construct the project, and then they handle the bid packaging for the village in terms of breaking it out into different components, maybe your structural component, your mechanicals component, your electrical component. And from there, because we do have to have those requirements for the grant funding, we can throw those into those bid documents. But ultimately, all the contracts come back before the village board. The village board has to approve all the contracts, it being either with the construction managing firm that would seek the bids on our behalf, or if we go after one lump sum master contract, that would have to come back before the board. So the board would approve all the contracts in this segment. So it would be facilitated kind of like our public works projects, where it would be advertised for bid, go out to public bid, because these are such quantities, all of them have to be publicly bid.
And that's where we can write this type of language in, Mr. Kozar, that you were suggesting.
Okay. So, I mean, I didn't think it was a project management fee, but then what is management and coordination fee? 15%, 15,000. What does that?
So when you look at
cover?
professional services,
Right.
and I know you spoke about that percentage, which we're totally transparent about, and within all the FOIA articles you could see out there, we're right in the wheelhouse of every architect, quite honestly, on municipal projects. But then you have it, that's core consultants, that's structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. And then we're taking on your behalf, which are traditional owners consultants on our side, civil, LA, I think we got food service on this, so we got a few specialty consultants that we take the risk when we bring those on. We do the work, we do the coordination, and that's what the 15% is really about, just to coordinate that effort.
Okay, so that's just to coordinate that 140 some odd.
Correct.
Additional.
Not to include the interior design, so I wanted to make sure it was clearly read in there that the interior design is an extra effort for these furniture, fixtures, equipments, and all that kind of stuff and appointments, but we don't take a markup on that. That's in-house delivered.
So, Director Guerrero, what is it that you need to be able to submit this for a grant?
So we have everything with the approval of the site plan and the floor plan that was presented tonight. And previously, what we've agreed to with Williams is to supply that information to us along with some of the cost estimates, and then staff would prepare the grant application. So we would have all the information that we need to supply for the grant application. I think what this component is internal staff, in terms of the engineering department, and I have reviewed it. 7.8% is within industry standard of usually 8%. For design standards of this size, 8 to 10%, depending on the size and scope of the project. But in terms of the grant application, we have everything that we would probably need delivered after the approval of the site plan within the next week to submit that grant application by the end of the month.
Yeah, the only other thing, obviously, is our timeline to deliver the project, which is also laid out in that schedule, which
Correct, yes.
is aggressive.
I think with the grant requirements, we have to have it completed by 2024 is the original outline in the grant application. So that's kind of the reason that was brought before you this evening, is so that we can kind of maintain that time frame for construction of completion of construction by 2024. I believe it's we were planning a soft opening if everything goes right. Obviously, we do have some supply chain issues currently going on, so we cannot predict that. But to be ready for a soft opening in like March of 2024, so that the summer of 2024 that we could be fully open to the public.
So you need to submit the letter of proposed agreement with your grant application? Is that accurate?
We would have to include the fees in terms of our estimate, I believe.
Yeah, the fees do outline in the estimate, yes.
So in order to have the fees included for eligibility in the grant, we would have to include the fees in that grant application.
And designate who we are choosing as an architect also? Is that correct?
I don't know if we have to necessarily designate who we have to have as an architect. Obviously, Williams has performed a substantial amount of work and familiarity with this project. And efficiency, I think if we go out for proposal or out for qualifications, obviously that's like about a 2 to 3 month process. Costs could substantially go up because they would have to relearn and interpret everything that Williams has done. So there's some efficiency and savings in that aspect by going with Williams based on historical familiarity and I can't think of the actual technical term, but the familiarity with the project and our relationship with them prior on this project.
So based on this letter of intent, then you'll draft it into some sort of contract that we can review? Is that the next step?
I believe what Mr. Polis is talking about is we would probably use an Aia contract, which is industry standard for architects, which outlines all the technical and legal aspects in terms of payment delivery, what happens if someone goes in default. That's all industry standard. And what usually occurs is that we will attach this proposal as an exhibit to the agreement, which outlines the services that they're providing. Like Mr. Polis said, I think it's like 92 pages or more. It's really that size of that agreement. And so just for bulk paper in the packet, we did not include it with this at this time. But historically, architects utilize that and villages utilize that because it's been vetted through the agencies, through the industry. And that's the standardized form to be utilized on agreements of this nature.
So do you have that contract already, or is that something that needs to be created?
It would be, I mean, it's a template form. Yeah. So, I mean, it would just have to fill in the numbers based on this proposal.
Okay. So are you suggesting there's really no review process of it? This is what I'm trying to understand. I mean,
So
we've
your
got a
legal
92-page contract.
Your legal counsel will absolutely review this, and we'll go back and forth, and then it's brought in front of you for formal approval one more time and signature.
Okay. So before that's brought back, I'd like to have that in some sort of executive session to be able to talk about this freely, rather than doing it, here at the meeting. Again, this is why like committee of the whole or an executive session for these bigger ticket items would be important.
We'd have to look at, we'd have to see if that's eligible for executive session, because I don't believe it would be. It would have to be in public session.
Okay. Which would be a committee of the whole.
Or, I mean, we can discuss, or discuss it before a meeting. We have a special meeting before.
Correct. Yeah, if you want a committee of the whole meeting or a special meeting or a regular meeting, it's all acceptable.
All right. I just think that our residents just should be able to have an understanding of what we're getting into for $1.4 million. That's all. I mean, this whole process just needs to kind of be transparent. So that's why I'm asking questions. I mean, I see people down there shaking their heads and huffing and puffing, but, it's worth having a conversation. We can't just blindly go into contracts and agreements.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Clerk Konecki.
Okay, trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Salala.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 10C, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, approving the fees for the village's swimming pool for the 2022 season. Andrew Guerrero.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Pool passes need to be advertised during the month of April of 2022, so passes can go on sale in May. The rates were raised 10% during the last pool season of the 2021 season, and staff and Parks Recreation Advisory Commission agree that the rates in 2022 should remain status quo, so they're proposing no change in the pool rates this season.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for this ordinance, a resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Murphy?
I'll second
Trustee
that
Kumar, second. Okay, any questions or comments? Trustee Kumar?
I'm happy they're not raising the rates, but as we know, labor has really gone up at this point, in many ways, and I'm hoping that we'll still continue to break even, at least on the pool passes. And that there's anticipation of increased usage this year with the end of the pandemic, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get going again.
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee, Clerk Henneke?
Okay. Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Item 10D, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, approving a 2-year contract with Romano Landscape of Elmhurst, Illinois, for the landscape maintenance program in an amount of $56,200. Dr. Greer?
Thank you, Your Honor. The Parks Division has been working with multiple landscape companies for several years to assist with the maintenance of several turf areas. This includes various flowered landscaping beds and 16 median strips and properties along North Avenue. Staff recommends the approval of a 2-year contract with Romano Landscaping in the total amount of $56,200. And that's broken out as in 2-year agreement, or 2-year levels of $27,600 for 2022 and $28,600 for 2023, and with an option of a 3rd year. Funds have been budgeted in accounts 10-517-00299, commuter parking and other contractual services, 10-517-00315, commuter parking and other supplies, 36-502-02299, parks operation contractual services, and 26-502-01-299, TIF 6 North Ardmore contractual services.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion for this? Trustee Corkery? We have a second? Trustee Kumar? Any questions? Trustee Corkery?
Do we have any kind of previous relationship with Romano?
I believe last year's was with Bear, but Romano was lower this year, but based on our supervisor, Brian, I believe they came back with favorable recommendations from other locations that he's followed up with.
Correct, yeah, we used Bear for the previous, and they also came back with an estimate, but weren't the lower estimate.
Trustee Kumar?
Are they landscaping or working on different areas from the past? Has there been additional areas in contracting, or do you just use them as a fallout when staff can't perform?
Well, they've been doing this, we've had this done for a couple of years now, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's just
that's
a
not
change
what
of company.
that's not what I'm asking. I understand that they're working on landscaping the whole city areas, or they work on a partial part of it, and the internal staff does the rest.
So
Staff does the majority of
Yeah,
the village.
and this is just
mowing
the-
and landscaping.
yeah,
And
this is just like
for medians and properties along North Avenue, landscape beds along Ardmore Avenue to the metro station, and then the metro station itself.
Okay, so has that increased? Is that changing with the new development? Is kind of what I'm
It's
asking.
the same as it was before, it's just a different company.
Company. Okay.
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Going back to many questions asked, I believe 2 seasons, in last season also, was the maintenance of the main corridors coming into town, the weedage that grows between the cracks quite largely as we come into our village or exit it. Is that something that could be included in this? Because we're not going to replace all the concrete that's cracked, obviously, but we can maintain the weed growth. So are these mediums that we're talking about just the grassy areas on North Avenue? Or let's say Ardmore and North Avenue, center lane, you've got 4 feet of concrete separating northbound and southbound, where vegetation grows through there. Is that something that could be included in this to maintain that, to give us a clean entrance or exit out of our village?
We could talk with the landscape company about including something like that. We could also look to have village staff spray with herbicides and stuff to maintain those spaces.
Yeah, something to make it a little bit more presentable, because it looks a little rough, and it's getting worse each season. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Okay, trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
President Casella?
Yes. Item 10E, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, authorizing the professional services of GM Smith and Son Realtors regarding the marketing and sale of village-owned property located at 440 East Van Buren Street, Villa Park, Illinois. Mr. Guerrero.
Yes. The village approved the village board approved the property at 440 East Van Buren as surplus during the January 10th meeting and directed the staff to utilize a local realtor to broker the sale of the property. Staff has reached out to 3 local realtors to select proposals to sell the property. After reviewing the proposal, staff has selected GM Smith and Son Realtors. The proposal includes the initial marketing position, provide ongoing communication and updates, multiple listing service exposure with national websites such as Zillow, Realtor.com, Trula, Redfin, social media exposure, open houses, virtual showings, yard sign, and featured sheets. The commission would be 5%, and if they procure a buyer within their client list, then the commission will be reduced to 4%. Staff recommends approval of the residential marketing agreement with GM and Smith and Son and to place the house on the market as soon as possible.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion for this?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Salella. Second, Trustee Patrick.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none,
Only I
Clerk-
don't think
oh,
that properties are gonna stay that long
I doubt it.
in this market, so
I doubt it.
it's gonna go fast.
Clerk Kornecki.
Okay, trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Casella?
Yes. Item 10F, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving change order number 1 to the contract with Aia Concrete Contractors, Inc. of Schaumburg, Illinois, for construction of the Maple Area Improvement Project for a net addition in the amount of $320,512.25. Manager Guerrero.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village has a contract with A-Lamp Concrete Contractors Incorporated of Schaumburg, Illinois, in the amount of $3,054,459.02 for the construction of the Maple Area Improvement Project. Proposed change order number 1 consists of the final balancing contracts of the work completed in 2021 as they've measured it in the field, as well as the known extras of work to be completed in this upcoming season. The net amount of the proposed final change order number 1 is an addition of the amount of $320,512.25 for an adjusted final contract amount of $3,374,971.27. Staff recommends approval of this change order.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for this? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll
Trustee
second that.
Murphy. Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Okay, trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
President Casella?
Yes. Okay, item 10G, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, for the utilization of motor fuel tax funds for the general maintenance activities for fiscal year 2022 in the amount of $860,000. Manager Guerrero.
Thank you. The village annually transfers a portion of its motor fuel tax, otherwise known as MFT, allotment from the state of Illinois to corporate fund and street fund to defray the expenses associated with street maintenance, snow removal, street light, and traffic control, electricity, and maintenance. A resolution is required to authorize the transfer of MFT funds to the corporate and street funds. The budget account for the transfers to the corporate fund is $32,502,02710, and the budget account for the transfer to the street fund is $32,502,02725. The amount to be transferred is $860,000.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for this?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Murphy, do we have a second? Trustee Patrick. Hey, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
President Kazel?
Yes. Item 10H, a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, authorizing the purchase of a Dodge Durango Pursuit Emergency Vehicle for the Fire Department and 3 Dodge Durango Pursuit vehicles for the Police Department through the Southwest Conference of Mayors Purchasing Cooperative at a cost not to exceed $147,897. Andrew Burr.
Thank you, Your Honor. The fire department is recommending the replacement of vehicle C8081, a 10-year-old 2012 Chevrolet Tahoe with 105,000 miles. Annually, the police department budgets replacements of 3 squad cars. Staff identified Dodge Durango Pursuit emergency vehicles available through the Southwest Conference of Mayors Purchasing Cooperative. A total cost of $147,897 for the 4 emergency vehicles. And how that breaks out is $36,487 for the one going to the fire department and $111,405 for the 3 police department vehicles. Based on the current shortage of vehicles, it is necessary the village to approve the purchase of these replacement vehicles now so that we can secure delivery before the end of the calendar year. Replacement of the vehicles is budgeted in 65,502,02401 of the budget for both the police and fire department.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion? Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee Salella?
I'll second.
Okay, questions or comments? Trustee Corkery.
We did just purchase 3 new squad cars a few months ago, did we not?
We did purchase 3 vehicles this past fiscal year, and so I believe I can defer to the chief. I did believe they came in not too long ago. However, due to the vehicle shortages that are occurring, if you don't get in line now, there's a good possibility that you will not get them until late 2023, if not later. And so that's why it's kind of a little bit of a quick turnaround, is we want to make sure that we can secure the vehicles and get them on the streets before the end of the calendar year.
Have we looked at electric replacements at all? Is that something the village has considered?
I would say we have not officially looked at it, as there's some different infrastructure that would need to occur in terms of charging stations, of those sort of items that would need to happen probably in advance. But that could be something that could be looked at in future purchases.
I think that'd be good, given that, I mean, we've all been paying for gas the last couple of weeks. We know what the situation is, and it's hard to foresee it changing anytime soon, if ever. So, I mean, I've spoken before about how I'd like to see us get a little more use out of our squad cars, and I think especially looking forward in the difficulties in fuel, I'd much rather see us look at electric as an option going forward.
Trustee Kumar.
I suggest we develop the infrastructure for electric first, look into that first, and then that way we can purchase electric. Everybody's going electric, so at this point, having the infrastructure as a plan of action in the near future is a good idea, at least right near here.
Just, sorry, Chief, do you know of many local police departments that have used these electric vehicles yet?
I do not. Every police department is in a mad scramble for squad cars. That much I can tell you. And we would not receive these cars until August, and possibly a little bit later in this year, because of the supply chain issues, as Manager Guerra has mentioned.
Thank you. Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. I just want to say that I am in favor of this. You're looking at a 10-year-old vehicle with over 100,000 miles on it, and with the amount of miles that our departments put on these cars on a daily basis, when you get a car up there, you know, you're starting to get, it could be a safety hazard as well, as far as a lot of the repairs and such goes. I will say that when I was working at Argonne National Laboratory for the Protective Force, they did try some electric vehicles at one point, and one of the issues that we ran into was that sometimes they didn't have the necessary power to get up to some of those maybe high speeds or something that you might need to in a vehicle like that.
Trustee Slow.
Just another tidbit, based on 105 miles means nothing compared to the idle time. It's also included into the car running in anticipation of a quick exit or run. So it's not just the miles.
Thank you. Trustee Kumar.
I think as far as the electric is concerned, I can corroborate that it's probably not completely there yet, but having an electric car myself, goes pretty darn fast to Audi, and it's not, it gives a good 200 miles of range, so as the technology improves, we need to set our standard towards that, I think, and move towards that. So it's not about getting it right away, but planning for it in the future.
Trustee Patrick?
I am totally all about going green. I am. I really am. But when it comes to issues like this, I really think that we need to stick with gas vehicles. And one of the reasons being, too, is because in the day-to-day operations, they never know what's coming. Time is everything. It's easy to fill up on gas. It takes a long time to charge an electric vehicle. Whereas if the police department is in a pursuit, or if there is, like Trustee Cielo was saying about idle time with a car, that all drains the battery of those electric cars right away. So I completely agree that the village should look for those alternative energy issues, maybe in our village fleet. But when it comes to our police departments and our fire departments, our first responders, I really think that we need to stick with those gasoline or diesel vehicles.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Clerk Konecki?
Okay, trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Corkery,
No.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Salella.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. Okay, going to item 10I, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, waiving the bidding requirements and approving a 5-year agreement with Motorola Solutions / WatchGuard Video for the central evidence, digital records, and evidence storage and associated user licenses in an amount not to exceed $64,124. Andrew Guerra.
Yes, thank you. The police department uses Motorola Solutions WatchGuard Video for most of its technology infrastructure, including squad car cameras, body-worn cameras, interview room cameras, and on-premises server. With the inclusion of the body-worn cameras and retention requirements, data storage will quickly outpace the storage capacities available through the village's on-site network. Motorola Solutions is the sole provider of WatchGuard compatible products. The WatchGuard Command Central Evidence and Data Storage would allow for unlimited data storage, improved efficiencies, and reduced costs of the on-premise network equipment needs. The total cost of the 5-year agreement is $64,124.
Thank you, sir. Hey, do we have a motion? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Trustee Salella?
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Konecki, please.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Salella.
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. Okay, with that, we'll go to public comments on non-agenda items. Clerk Konecki, anyone signed
I
up?
have no one signed up.
Okay, do we have anyone in the audience?
Hi, my name is Ravi Patel. I own and operate the 7-Eleven off of Sunset in Addison. I've owned that location since 2008. This is my 5th time trying to apply and upgrade my liquor license. It's been rejected every time, and I don't know why. I have a liquor license that I'm allowed to sell beer and wine, but I'd like to upgrade it to the spirits. I have a family member that owns a 7-Eleven on Villa. He has a full liquor license, and a friend of mine just opened up a gas station off of St. Charles and Addison, and he just got a full liquor license. So I just don't understand why my location is being denied every time. I've never had any violations. So I just kind of want to know what I have to do to get it, or if I'm just not gonna ever get it. You know, that's just my concern. So kind of wanted to know what you guys can do for me, or what I can do.
Yeah. I'd done a poll on the board, and it looked like it was, no. But seeing as you brought that up, that, other store places have them, I will try it, and we'll do it again. I'll check with the board and see what their opinions are on that.
Okay, I just, one other 7-Eleven that has it and I don't have it, it just seems unfair to me, but yeah, no problem, just let me know,
Okay.
and maybe next meeting or something, you guys have something for me.
Okay.
Please
All right.
sign in, sir. Could you sign in?
Sure.
Yeah,
Right here?
Thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And it's the 7-Eleven on Addison, correct?
Addison Sunset, yes.
Okay, with that, we'll go to the village clerk's report.
I have no report.
No report. Okay, village trustees report. We'll start on my left tonight. Trustee Kumar.
Nothing today. Just very happy that, we're getting a new community center.
Okay. Trustee Corpy.
No report this week.
Okay. Trustee Murphy.
Yes, the only thing I have is the Popeyes grand opening, I believe, is on Friday, the 18th, from 3 to 5 p.m.
Okay. Thank you. I think ribbon cutting is at 4 o'clock on Friday at the Popeyes. Okay. Trustee Kozar.
I had mentioned at a meeting or two ago, I'm glad that those weekly reports are no longer confidential, but I'm wondering, can we post those online? Can we post those on our website for everybody to see?
I believe that some discussions we've had, obviously there's still, what I would probably say, some sensitive information that goes out in those, for information for the board members, while it's not confidential. Sometimes it can be sensitive, but I think that's discussions we had. Obviously, we don't want to water down the reports where it doesn't provide the board with the necessary information that you guys need, so that you guys can be informed of the day-to-day operations of the village. But that is something we can continue to look at and discuss, yes.
Okay, I mean, how do we look at that and discuss it?
I know there's been some discussions with the president and I during our one-on-ones. I think we can bring that, based on those discussions, I think we can talk about it this week and then reach back out to the board on those items.
Okay. That's fine. And then there was a white paper that was discussed about committee of the whole, and that was 2 meetings ago, I think. Where do we stand with that?
I apologize, I've been tied up a little bit. I'll get that out as well.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. At our last board meeting, I spoke about the ongoing crisis in Ukraine, and the situation has not gotten any better. There are now over 1.8 million refugees fleeing Ukraine, with hundreds of civilian casualties and thousands of injuries. We do know that civilians are being targeted, whether that be schools, hospitals, maternity wards, and Ukraine really needs our help and our support. At that last meeting, I also said that I wish there was more that I could do, but I didn't even know what I could do to help. In looking more into the situation on the different ways that I could help, came across many different organizations, many different programs that are legit, where you could donate money, supplies, or what have you. For example, one area is called Unicef. It's unicef.com, where it specifically is donations for children in the crossfire of the Ukraine crisis. There are many others. And it's also the small things that we could do. Earlier we had a resident, Joe Amori, in here wearing a Ukraine flag, symbolizing his support. Small things like that. There's signs throughout the neighborhood supporting Ukraine. We also have, even here in Villa Park, our own police officers, and I will call him out. Officer Connor Frakes has also taken on the duty of setting up a departmental internal donation box, collecting supplies for the departments to donate to Ukraine. And these are the kinds of examples, and these are the kinds of things that need to happen and need to get done for the support of the Ukrainian people out there. Again, over 1.8 million refugees. We've got Poland and Romania already saying that they are taking on more than they can handle. In the crisis there, it doesn't seem like this is going to end soon. All the support that we can give, we should. I'm going to request that the village staff look into some of these organizations that residents could donate to, legit organizations. and I'm going to request that they make a social media post and or on the web page. Let our residents know where they can help make donations or where they can contribute to help Ukrainians in need. With that, I just want to, again, Chief Rivas, I think that goes above and beyond the call of duty for Officer Frakes. I hope that he realizes that I really appreciate that, and I'm sure the board does. And that's the type of leadership and that's the type of dedication that we need, and that's what's going to help Ukraine. So if you have the opportunity and you can help, I ask that you do show your support for Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Solella.
I'm just wondering if we can get an update for our residents on some of our pending projects, Casey's, some of the vacancies that are either for lease or for sale. How are some of our public hearings have gone for vacant buildings in St. Charles, for sale buildings such as the old restaurant? Where is there any interest in it? Has anyone approached us? Some kind of an update to put some answers to the question that we can give our residents?
I can speak on behalf of Casey's. Casey's were under review of the plans. They had some minor revisions that was completed between the transition from Buc-ee's to Casey's. That is in within our building department and engineering department to review those plans. So that should be coming along. And I can turn it over to maybe Director Burke if he can provide any more information that he can that he has available that can be presented on other vacant properties.
Good evening. The former La Tasca building, there's two interested parties on that side, St. Charles and I think Charles, that corner. 24 East St. Charles, the Here to Say space, they came to Planning and Zoning Commission last Thursday, and they were recommended approval for either a quick service restaurant or a coffee shop there. The Catalyst project was also presented to Planning and Zoning, the Union, and they'll be bringing their formal application to Planning and Zoning in April.
You got anything else hanging out there that you know about?
Status of Garden Station?
Yeah, actually, the demo permits they picked up the demo permits Friday, so they can start mobilizing hopefully this week.
How about the Garden Village? Where we at with that as far as start, demolition?
Yeah, that's Garden Station.
Oh, yeah, you didn't mention it.
That's the one, yeah,
Okay,
that's one you're
I'm
talking
sorry.
about, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Good, thanks.
That's all I got, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I have, this Saturday, the 19th, is electronic recycling at Public Works Building, 9 to 12. So if you have any old TVs or computers, you can drop them off here. You do have to be a resident, and you have to show proof of living in the village. Our next meeting will be March 28th. And we'll go to the village manager's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. To borrow, sort of kind of piggyback on to Trustee Sorrellas, in terms of infrastructure projects, we did pass the Maple area change order 1, but the contractor's A-Lamp has been out working in that area. They started about 2 weeks ago, and I believe they have like 2 crews out there, so they are kind of going to town out there. So that area will be under construction for a while, just to bring that up to speed. Also, as an update to the manager search, applications were due last Friday to GovHR. They'll be turning it around. And I know, Your Honor, we spoke about a special meeting possibly the 4th, if that's still the consensus of the board, so we can schedule that with GovHR to talk about the process of the interviews, get input, and then they'll present the list of candidates afterwards in executive session.
Okay.
So if the board, is that acceptable to the board, we will get that scheduled.
Okay.
We should definitely get that scheduled. And now, are we doing that before they give us the candidates, correct?
So basically what they're doing right now is all the applications we'll do, they're gonna interview and screen.
What happens on the 4th is they will present all of the candidates to you. So this will give you an overview, right? You don't have to make any decisions. It's about a 2-hour executive session where they're kind of giving you all of the data, also sharing the information in terms of their research. So we did sort of a survey of staff. They met with community leaders. All of that information is sort of presented to the board in the whole. We will also have an open session where the board is able to talk about the interviewing process. You can also have feedback from the public. So it'll be a bit larger in that scope.
I am proposing that we have, at the next meeting, an open session to discuss this prior to getting this information. Just right before the meeting, because I do not want to be clouded by the information in discussion of the process of how we will be selecting a new manager. So
Well, we'll have an open session.
no,
and-
but the open session is after they've already given us information.
So the
I
open
don't-
session would be first. So the board has to talk in open session about the interview process. So none of that is eligible for executive session, right? So how you want to interview, and just a general discussion about that if you want public feedback, and then we'll go into executive session to discuss with GovHR.
But our public feedback is not gonna come soon enough for us to make an actual consolidated plan.
You don't have to make, I mean, the board doesn't have to make a 100% decision that day. It's an opportunity, sort of a committee of the whole type format, where you're allowed to kind of have an open discussion about what you want this process to look like. So we can have as many special meetings as we want. We can also, the next week is our regularly scheduled board meeting. So our thought is we can begin the discussion. If we have to revisit it at the next board meeting, we can also have another special meeting. My goal and my role in this is to help facilitate between GovHR and the board to keep this moving along. So we can talk about it. I think our thought was we'll have this. I know your desire was to solicit public feedback. This would be an opportunity to do that. And then we'll have this session with GovHR, because that in of itself will be 2 hours, they said. So we can only do so much in that time, but it will start the conversation. And it would be separate from a regular board meeting, which always is, you know, has a lot of other information on it. Yeah.
Trustee Patrick.
How many applications did we receive?
So I don't have a firm number yet, but I will get that to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
That's all right, okay. Okay, as I said, our next meeting is Monday, March 18th, or March 28th, 2 weeks from tonight. Hope everyone can enjoy the spring weather that's here. Hopefully it's here for good. With that, we'll get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Corkery, do we have a second?
I'll make that.
Trustee Kumar, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you.